Homage to the lineage gurus. That we always carry our lineage gurus on top of our heads. The Venerable Monk Liao Ming, Master Sakya Tsung Kung, the 16th Dharma King Karmapa, and Master Dupten Dorji. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of group practice today, the greatly compassionate Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Sumu, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma lecturers, Dharma assistants, temple directors, all disciples present here and over the internet, and our participating VIPs today from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Taiwan, the Secretary General Daniel Liao's wife, Dharma Sister Judy. Accountant of the True Buddha Foundation, Dharma Sister Teresa. CTI TV Taiwan producers for 给你点上新灯 Dharma Sister Rebecca Shiachi. The Taiwan legislator Cai Chi-chang's representative, Ms. Chen. Dr. Ryan Zhuang. Dr. Zhou Heng. Dharma Brother Gao. From the Taiwanese Sunny Line Dancers, Miss Lin Yixuan. And Dharma Sister Wu Meixian. The assistant to the former Vice President Li Xiulian, and also the PR Director of the International Businesswomen Association chapter, Miss Xue Huilin. She's also part of the line dancers. But her title is the longest one. So the main deity for the group practice today is Guan Yin Bodhisattva. And in Buddhism, Guan Yin Bodhisattva is the most famous and also can be said that she is the greatest Bodhisattva. Throughout the time for Buddhism, the most famous Buddha is Amitabha Buddha, and the most famous Bodhisattva is Guan Yin Bodhisattva, or Lokaswara Bodhisattva, or Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. So, and Guan Yin Bodhisattva includes many, many Bodhisattvas. That's why in reciting the Hiking Guan Yin Sutra, we would say that Guan Yin of the 10 directions and all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, which mean 10 directions, meaning up, down, and the 8 directions, which mean everywhere there is Bodhisattva. So altogether 10 directions. and up is infinite, and down is also infinite, and the 8 directions also infinite. So that's why we call it 10 directions. So the 10 directional Kuan Yin. So in Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra, we often say the great radiant Kuan Yin, the high King Kuan Yin, and then 2 more. And the observantly Kuan Yin. So there are 4 different Kuan Yins. In the Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra, I only remember them in Taiwanese, but in Mandarin, I cannot recite it, cannot memorize it. So in Taiwanese, I'm very fluent at it, but in Mandarin, sometimes I would forget. It's a matter of habit. So in Hiking Kuan Yin Sutra, there are 4 Kuan Yins, Bodhisattvas mentioned there, and there are many more. It's innumerable. Actually, Hayagriva was also an emanation of Kuan Yin. And the white Mahakala with 8 arms was also an emanation of Kuan Yin. And there are also many Herukas and Vidyarajas, the wisdom kings, who were manifestations of Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. And also a lot of gods were also manifestations of Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. And my mother, as I remember it, she was one of Kuan Yin's Bodhisattva's bird, the peace bird. We have like a little shrine in Taiwan that above is Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, below is Matru, or sometimes they are on 2 sides, Kuan Sen Di Jun and at the center Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. And then above Kuan Yin Bodhisattva there was a bird that is holding a chanting bead, and that bird is called the Great Harmony Bird. And my mother was a manifestation of the bird. That was the past of my mother, the past life of my mother. And I have seen many Kuan Yin Bodhisattvas. I had lots of visions of Kuan Yin Bodhisattvas, and they're all different. But every time she appeared to me, it signified auspiciousness. Typically speaking, Kuan Yin Bodhisattva is primarily for compassion. In Tantrayana, there are 3 reliances. If Kuan Yin Bodhisattva is at the center, then on the other side is Manjusri Bodhisattva, and the other side is Vajrapani Bodhisattva. And Kuan Yin Bodhisattva represents compassion, and Manjusri Bodhisattva represents wisdom, and Vajrapani Bodhisattva represents Dharma power, a kind of power. So in practicing Tantric Buddhism, we need to remember these 3 reliances. And what does it mean? The 3 reliances are the 3 Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that you can rely on. And one is the compassionate Kuan Yin, and the wise Manjusri, and the powerful Vajrapani. So you rely on these 3 deities, and they're called the 3 reliances in Tantrayana. They are of the highest rank. They are highly esteemed. So Kuan Yin Bodhisattva in the past was also a Buddha and was called Zeng Fa Ming Ru Lai, which is the correct Dharma, radiance Tathagata. And now he manifested as Bodhisattva, Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, because the Bodhisattva is delivering sentient beings. So Buddhas are perfect and Bodhisattvas are compassionate. Bodhisattvas are delivering or salvaging sentient beings. And Kuan Yin Bodhisattva is the leader of the 8 great Bodhisattvas. So Kuan Yin Bodhisattva is the first and foremost, number 1, and Ichibang and Skui. And there are also other manifestations in Tibet. She manifested as the 4-armed Kuan Yin, or called Chenresik. 2 arms are joined together holding a mani jewel that can transform numerously, and the other hand is holding a chanting bead mala, and the other hand holding a lotus. So she has 4 arms, and the mantra is Om Mani Padme Hum. And there are also 1,000 eyes, 1,000 arms Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. That's even more supreme. So if we have 1,000 eyes and 1,000 hands, if a human being can have those, that will be much more convenient. Then when I write my books, then it would be very fast. So with 1,000 eyes, you can see everything, everywhere. That in your palm there's an eye, and green Tara and white Tara are also emanations of Kuan Yin Bodhisattva. When Kuan Yin Bodhisattva was compassionate, he shed 2 drops of tears, and 1 drop of tear became green Tara, and the other drop of tear became white Tara. And we all know about green Tara. And white Tara was also called the Buddha Mother with 7 eyes. 1 eye at the brow, at both palms, and at 2 soles of the feet. That's 5. Oh, and the normal eyes. So together, 7 eyes. So she is called the 7-eyed Buddha Mother. So if you see a Buddhist image with 7 eyes, then that would be white Tara. And white Tara is primarily for longevity and wisdom and auspiciousness. So, and there's also the white robe Kuan Yin. There's Kuan Yin with 11 faces. Why do we have Kuan Yin with 11 faces? Because that's the same as Buddha. And also 1,000 eyes, 1,000 arm Kuan Yin is also Buddha. Because in the Bodhisattva hood, there are 10 grounds. And Kuan Yin with 11 faces, she is called the 11th face Kuan Yin. If she is standing, then that represents the 11th ground. But Bodhisattvahood has 10 grounds. So the 10th ground is called the equal awakening, and then the 11th ground is called the marvelous awakening, and that's the same as Buddhahood. So 1,000 eyes, 1,000 arm Kuan Yin, and the 11 face Kuan Yin are the same as the Buddhas. And Mahachundi, Buddha Mother, was also an emanation of Kuan Yin. Mahachundi has 11 arms. Hayagriva, Tianren Zhangfu, and the Yilang Guan Yin. Guan Yin with 4 faces. There are many, many manifestations of Guan Yin Bodhisattva. So her deliverance of sentient beings would help all disasters, calamities, and will always help upon hearing upon it with great compassion and mercy. There were lots of Vietnamese refugees. As they get on the boat, they would recite the Guan Yin Bodhisattva, and they would be floating on the ocean, and they felt that they were saved by Guan Yin Bodhisattva, and they all chanted Guan Yin Bodhisattva. So in the Buddhist world, Guan Yin is the greatest Bodhisattva, number 1, and the greatest one. So we can call her as the number 1 Bodhisattva. There are many people who have Guan Yin as their yidam, or their personal deities, and there are also many people practicing the smoke offering of the Chenrezig. So the emanations of Guan Yin Bodhisattvas are innumerable. They are there with great compassion. In reciting the sutra, I often recite these 2 verses in the Universal Gate Sutra. That's the verse from the Universal Gate Sutra that I often recite. That's how I chanted it. So Guan Yin Bodhisattva is truly famous. She's truly the number 1 Guan Yin, Sugoi Guan Yin. And we know in Tantric Buddhism, green Tara and white Tara are the very famous manifestations of Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Lots of people pray to Guan Yin Bodhisattva. And in the Golden Mother Sutra, it was also mentioned. They also mentioned Guan Yin Bodhisattva. And at that time, she was called Cihang Daoren. Cihang Daoren. There are lots of temples in Taiwan that's called the Cihang temples. or Tzu Hang Da Si, which is the great master of compassion in Taoism. So they are actually also Guan Yin Bodhisattvas. So she's a really great Bodhisattva. If she is your yidam, your personal deity, you would obtain auspiciousness and you would have fruition in your spiritual cultivation. So Guan Yin Bodhisattva of all directions, all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas vow to help all sentient beings and transform all disasters. I went to a temple and there was a Guan Yin Bodhisattva with lots of arms. And she's really, Fa Xing Chan Si, the Zen temple there, has a really beautiful Guan Yin. It's above Chinatown, Fa Xing Chan Si. Peiliang. Because Peiliang has been in Chinatown for a long time, right? I went there with Wu Ming Zhanglao, the leader of the Wu Ming Zhanglao. And he visited me here in Seattle, and then he also wanted to visit the Zen Fa Xin Zen temple. And in the past, there was Xin Tian Reverend that had many famous spiritual centers in Tainan. So one of the chapters is called the Fa Xing Zen Temple, or Chan Si. And the monk changed name into Shen Deng Fa Si. So Wu Ming Zhanglao and I visited this Fa Xing Chan Si. So now let's continue on the Great Perfection Dharma. I have seen with my own eyes Guan Yin Bodhisattvas. And the one I saw was unforgettable. I've told you before. I saw her back, and then all of a sudden, she turned. It's just as she was leaving, she turned her head. When I saw her face and her outfit, wow, she was truly beautiful. It doesn't exist in this world. Very beautiful, perfect. It's unforgettable. Very, very beautiful, very dignified. Impossible to find in this world. Now let's continue on the Great Perfection Dharma. When I saw Guan Yin Bodhisattva, I knew that my problem would be resolved. Because every time she appeared, it's definitely auspicious. When I saw her appeared, I knew that my problems would be completely resolved. In the Great Perfection Dharma, on page 56, In a split of a moment, I saw myself seated on a lotus throne, surrounded by thousands of other lotus thrones. And seeing the lotus thrones around me, it turned out I saw that on top of each of these lotus thrones, I saw myself seated on it. So it turned out that one of me in each throne, so thousands of lotus youths in a split of a moment attained Buddhahood. Just like Padma Kumara has a great number of manifestations, and now each of these manifestations goes around delivering multitudes of sentient beings. Let's talk about this part. I saw myself seated on a lotus throne. This is the most important point. If you see yourself seated on a lotus throne, then you have hope to be reborn into the Pure Land. There are many manifestations of lotus youth. The kings of Shambhala, the first king was Manjusri Bodhisattva. The second king was the white lotus king. And he was a lotus youth of Padma Kumara. Guru Padmasambhava, or the lotus born, he was born out of a lotus, and he was too a Padma Kumara, or lotus youth. And the precious mind youth, the supreme precious youth, were all Padma Kumaras. And the auspicious light youth was also Padma Kumara. So Mahamudra, actually the youth was also called Bodhisattva. So if you're well versed in the sutras, you would know that when you say Kumara or youth, that refers to Bodhisattva. Because a child or a youth is very innocent. And Bodhisattva is also very innocent. They are single-minded, or they have no mind whatsoever. Most importantly is you're single-minded. So that's why when I say single-mindedly, I pay homage, which means I use my naked, innocent heart to pay homage to the greatly compassionate Guan Yin Bodhisattva. And lotus is truly precious. In Buddhism, lotus division refers to the division of Amitabha Buddha. So the leader of the lotus division is Amitabha Buddha. And in the lotus division, you know, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are seated on a lotus throne. All Buddhas and all Bodhisattvas are seated on lotus thrones. And how many lotus youths are there? If you visit the Donghuang caves or the Qianhu caves, all the caves, in each of the caves there are lotus youths. In mainland China, In the introduction, they refer to it as lotus youth, Padma Kumara. So they even published a book on the research on lotus youth. Why do they want to research on this? Because it was very secret. The first time upon the opening of my divine eye, that night I went to the heavens and to the earth and to the Buddha lands. At that time, she told me already that you are lotus youth, Lianhua Tongzi, and I never heard of it. Before I didn't know about this, and then afterwards, in studying Buddhism, never knew about lotus youth. And then later on, eventually, I came to know that there are many, many lotus youths, like the supreme precious youth and precious mind youth. When Sakyamuni Buddha was the King Ashoka, with the king with the. So the one that brought this king to see the Jingguang Tathagata, there were two youths appeared from the lotus. One is Bao Yi youth and the other one is Bao Sang youth, and told this king to, if you want to attain Buddhahood, you have to go see the Jingguang Buddha, or the Buddha with pure light, because that was at the time of the Buddha with pure light. So this Bao Yi youth and Bao Sang youth were the guiding teachers of the past life of Sakyamuni Buddha. So lotus youths were great, right? Because they were once the guiding teachers of Sakyamuni Buddha. See, I didn't know about this before, but after reading these books, it turned out that I was the guiding teacher of Sakyamuni Buddha, because at that time, you know, the Mahamudra of Tantrayana was transmitted by Adi Buddha to first the Bao Yi youth. And Bao Yi youth, or the precious mind youth, was actually also a lotus youth. So the first patriarch below Adi Buddha, that would be lotus youth. So I was the first patriarch of Mahamudra. And Great Perfection Dharma, Guru Padmasambhava brought Great Perfection Dharma to Tibet at the reign of King Trizong Tejin. And the king has 25 ministers, and they were all Buddhist followers. So these 25 ministers also studied Great Perfection Dharma from Guru Padmasambhava, including the king, Trizong Tejin. So at that time, Guru Padmasambhava, the king Trizong Tejin, and Shantarakshita built the first temple in Tibet, the Samye Temple. So the Samye temple was built by these three people. So Guru Padmasambhava was definitely a lotus youth. No question about that. And the king Dzogchen Tze was also lotus youth, because that was my previous life. And Jingming Da Si, I believe that was Santarakshita, that was Master Dupten Dorji. So Guru Padmasambhava transmitted Great Perfection Dharma to King Dzogchen Tze and the 25 ministers and his 5 consorts. So King Dzogchen Tze, well, of course, I am still the patriarch of Great Perfection Dharma, the lineage guru of Great Perfection Dharma. And Guru Padmasambhava was also a lotus youth, and he was also a lineage guru. So that's why we call it a secret Buddha, because there were many masters in the Buddhist world that are not aware of it. That's why he was referred as the secret Buddha. So sometimes in the world it's hard to fathom this thing, and you will never know unless you're told. Let me share a joke. Xiaoming's father was very disciplined and disallowed to talk during dinner, during meals. But with the exception of Taiwan, of our Lizang temple, that at meal times it was like the market, everybody's talking. You know, look at the monks and nuns and the dining halls. Nobody's talking during meals. With the soup, a bowl of soup, a bowl of rice, and a bowl of dish. If you need anything, you just kind of gesture with your chopstick, and then there would be attendants that would add either rice or soup or dish for you, and you don't talk. They don't say a word. Even if they want more rice, they just perform a gesture. So that's how they eat. But for us, we talk. So Xiaoming's dad was very strict, and he disallowed talks during meals. And one day, Xiaoming was about to say something, and the dad said, "I told you, never talk during meals. Talk after you finish eating." So he's very strict. And after meals, Xiaoming said, "Dad, there was a fly on top of your dish." So there are lots of things that are secret, that cannot be said. But once told, everybody would know. So the one that I saw, Lotus Youth, was also the secret Buddha with pure light. And the secret Buddha with pure light was also the Adi Buddha. That's the greatest Buddha. He's completely light. He's just light. And he can transform into anything. So the Bao Yi youth, Bao Sang youth were all manifested by him. And Grandmaster too was also manifested. What? How come you emanated? You have a mother and a father. When I was born, mother didn't say anything, and father said, "You're not my kid. You're not my son." So I don't know who my parents were. My dad eventually approved of me in my Buddhist study, and they took refuge in me. My mother too, my father too. But my father never regarded me as his son. In my father's will, he wrote, "Oh, this is a secret. I shouldn't talk about it." But dear God, so for Seng Yen Lu's part, because he has attainment, he is not given any part. So my portion of the inheritance was given to a foreign, an unrelated person. You know, I never called him dad from small until marriage. And then Simu said, well, because he, you know, he nurtured you, right? So you should at least call him dad. And I felt really uncomfortable. And so I always called my mom, but I never called dad. So I was the same as Jesus. Jesus had a mother, Maria, and his father thought, "You are my girlfriend and we are not married yet. How could you be pregnant and bear a child?" Because she was pregnant by the Spirit. So Jesus went with Joseph to Nazareth. I learned it in Taiwanese for my Christian knowledge. So Joseph was a carpenter, and Jesus was the son of Joseph. But Jesus was not recognized by Joseph as his son. And it's the same for me. My dad did not recognize me as his son. So that's destiny. My destiny is very similar to Jesus. I was born all of a sudden impregnated by the Spirit. And when Jesus was born, there was stars shining on him. And when I was born, my dad took a flashlight and shone on me. And Jesus was born on a horse stable, and I was born in a chicken coop. And my Chinese zodiac was also a chicken or rooster. I was in Jiayi's Niu Chou Xi western part. And at that time, the American army was bombing above Jiayi's airport, and I was born then. So Jesus was born in a horse stable, and I was born in a chicken coop. Very similar, right? And my dad did not recognize me, and Joseph also did not recognize Jesus. So was impregnated by the Spirit. So, well, That's how Lotus Youth fate is. So there are thousands of Lotus thrones, and they are all Lotus Youths. So there are many people that have karmic connections here are also Lotus Youth. I really fall from the sky. This joke, I was sitting on the deck upstairs eating some scallion pancake. I heard people talking. A man said, "Can you be my girlfriend?" And the girl said, "If there are pancakes falling from the sky, then I want to date you." So the person on the upstairs and dropped the pancake and then said, "Okay, now go for it. That's all I could help you with." So Lotus Youth are these scallion pancakes that fall from the sky. They all come from heavens. There's something really amazing. When Bodhisattva told me that you are a Lotus Youth, so I went to visit many gurus, many masters of Mahayana Buddhism, like the Guru Li Bingnan at the center of Taiwan, from Ciming Temple, Seng Yin Fa Sư, 慈山寺正光法师，诸匪济世，诸匪 laity that edited the Bodhi magazine. I visited many masters or teachers of the temples, and I asked them, "Do you know of the Lotus Youth or Lotus Bodhisattva?" Nobody knew. And then later on, I knew that it was a secret Buddha. It was with secret status that would be delivering sentient beings in the future. Nobody knew then. And then, when we went to Xi'an to the Dunhuang caves, then inside the caves, inside each of the caves, there are Lotus Youths. Only then it came into light. It became known. Now everybody knows of this Lotus Youth. None of these masters or monks would believe that you would be able to see Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You must have become demon. You know, the Li Bingnan teacher said that once the demon is with you for 3 years, you would be withered and die. I was scared. And the old lady Li Bingnan, the very famous lady Buddhist, he is considered a great lay Buddhist. And the Venerable Seng Yin is the great monk of the central Taiwan. And he just shook his head hearing about Lotus Youth. And Zheng Guang Fa Si believed a little bit, but the rest did not believe it at all. So in the Zhu Hui Leiti, I told you, "You don't believe it? Okay, let me show you." And Zhu Hui's wife was reciting the Mahakaruna Dharani, the Great Compassion Mantra, and then I showed him. My yin and yang eye. So his wife was continually reciting the Great Compassion Mantra. And I said, oh, no need for you to chant. I know you're chanting the Great Compassion Mantra. And then they told me, our guru was the teacher Li Bingnan. Why don't you go see him? So I went to see Li Bingnan. And Buddhas and Bodhisattvas told me that you need to stay committed in your spiritual cultivation. But I've asked everybody in the Buddhist world, and nobody knew of this lotus youth. I must have been tricked or cheated. And then Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva appeared to me and told me that I am also a lotus youth. Siddhigarbha said, you need to listen to me. You're at a crossroad now. And in the future, you would deliver many sentient beings. Now I know that Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva is my brother. So I'm truly majestic. I've been propagating Buddha Dharma in hell. Do you believe it? So Huiling, could you stand up? Who saw me propagating Dharma in the hell? My sister, my younger sister. See, Grandmaster Lu opened a class in hell and also perform Dharma ceremonies and give Dharma teachings. And I know there was another person there helped. Those are all the facts. So lotus youth on lotus thrones, and there are thousands of them, and they all appear together, many of them. So we are all manifested. In this joke, a friend has this tattoo on his navel, a butterfly and a scorpion. But as he aged, his waist also enlarged, so the butterfly becomes a flying goose, and the scorpion becomes a lobster. And there was a lady that had a rose tattooed, and then because she gained weight, and so it became really large, and her friend asked her, so why do you tattoo a cabbage on your body? So as a human being, we change. So the lotus youth of the past, now it's not lotus youth anymore, now it's a lotus elderly. In the past, Grandmaster has a lotus look, a youth look. When I was young, with the crop cut, when I made my Bodhisattva vow, did you see that picture? I look like a youth. When I received my Bodhisattva vows, they did not recognize that in the Buddhist world. So the Wu-Ming长-Lao was very suspicious whether I have made my Bodhisattva vows. When I went to Haimin Su, meeting the Wu-Ming, the senior, the elderly, he brought a huge package and said, "This is for you, but you can take a look what it is. It's in a box." That was a test. Oh, he asked me to guess what's inside the box. So I told him, inside this box, I didn't open the box, I just said what I saw with my eyes. It's like paintings of mountains and water and houses and people and clans. So, and the Wu-Ming长-Lao said, "Okay, open it now." So I opened it. It turned out it was a book of stamps, because Wu-Ming长-Lao collected stamps. And inside it, there the presidential hall, there are people, Sun Yat-sen, Chiang Kai-shek. There are also butterflies on the stamp, or there are animals and plants, all kinds of stamps inside the album. So what I saw was right. So he wanted to see if there were marks, the incense marks on the arm. Because in the past, when you make the Bodhisattva vow, you have to make these marks with the incense. And I showed it to Wu-Ming长-Lao, and now can you see it? Can you see them? 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. No 4. So 3 marks for the Bodhisattva vow. Bisan Yen Si in Nantou, the temple in Nantou. And the precept monk is Hui San, Xuan Dun, and Jie Guang. Old monks, the 3 old venerables, were the one who bestowed the vows upon me. See, I had these marks here. It's been a long time. I made my vow when I was 26, and now I'm 71. And the burned marks are still there. So you need to go through lots of tests. And the tests for lotus youth are uncountable. And they all passed, but there would be more to come. Before I told you that there's a difference between before and after marriage. Before marriage is a couple meet in heaven, and after marriage is you don't get along any day. It's rhyming in Chinese, but before marriage, I would die without you. I would die. After marriage is you would make me die. Before marriage, I love you the most, and after marriage is you harm me. And before marriage is that I love you so deep, and after marriage is I wish that you get on the ground. But Grandmaster is not like this. Grandmaster's zodiac is Cancer, so Grandmaster cares for his family the most. And let me add, those the Cancer with the Cancer zodiac takes care of everybody. So that's why Grandmaster Lu never forsake any single being. Because every sentient being is a Buddha. Every sentient being is Padma Kumara, or lotus youth, or Mani Padme Hum.